Not sure who this commenter is. I came across this in my feed and it immediately stood out to me. I have been saying this about homes built around the 2008 collapse, built fast and cheap and should need major repairs any day. Yeah.
Hello, Ara. What are you doing?
Greetings, Nikos. This was just a comment someone left on this video that I just pinned. Oh, so I realized I have a question. We're live, by the way. So I'm preparing for the conference and I'm making an argument based on what you guys have brought up in this podcast. And I realized there's one piece. If I could add this one piece, it'll really seal the deal with the argument. So I haven't done the intro yet, but in the middle of the presentation, I go into fractals and I show how a lot of traditional architecture is fractal. The Western classical is fractal. The Eastern classical is fractal.
All traditional architecture is fractal to varying degrees, but mostly very fractal.
It's true. But the piece that's missing that would really seal the deal with the argument is if before I go into all that, I show a piece of scientific writing or something that shows that human beings have a desire to be surrounded by fractal geometry.
But just use the review article by Richard Taylor and my review article.
Richard Taylor.
So
Article. Richard Taylor. I don't know what to search.
I will give you.
Okay. Just going to the right headphones. Oh, there we go. I mean, it makes sense because of what Anne brought up, where it's already preset in my brain what I need to see. And
okay, where can I show this on the screen? I have copied it.
There should be a present button. It's a screen with a plus on the bottom. Oh, I just saw your email. I need to send this. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I had sent the link. I'll send it again.
I'm trying to share my screen, and there seems to be problems. There seems to be software problems.
If you send it to me, I could share. I don't know if I want to do a slide on how modern architecture is not fractal because
I would advise against attacking modernists because then you start an argument and there's no getting out of the argument and people get upset and they argue. So I would advise against that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I agree. I don't want to be seen as someone who's trying to tear something down rather than build something up.
Yeah, I'm having problems copying this.
Richard Taylor fractals. Dan said I sent the right link.
Yes, I'm having problems.
Technical difficulties, folks. This is the reality of life in 2025. Technology gives us a lot of conveniences, but it's not always perfect. Oh, this should be the link. Oh.
So what have you found?
Oh, I was just emailing with Anne because she said the email didn't work. I mean, the link didn't work. Okay. Richard Taylor. Should I put a review article in my search? Review article?
No. I had the
University of Oregon professor of physics, psychology, and art. Fractal patterns in nature and art are aesthetically pleasing. Yeah. Oh.
I had the title. I tried to paste it in, but I'm having problems with my email.
Fractal patterns in nature and art are aesthetically pleasing and stress reducing. Yes, it's obvious it's true.
It's obvious to you because you've had discussion with us, but it's not obvious to other people.
Right, exactly. I realized when I was putting the presentation together, there was a bit of a leap in that the viewer would have to make that to believe that fractal form is superior to non-fractal form. I wonder if there's something in the handbook, the Routledge handbook.
There's a lot of stuff in the handbook.
Oh, answer. Greetings, Anne. So I'm putting together a presentation for a conference in November, and I realized I have one piece that's kind of missing from my presentation. So towards the middle, it goes into fractals, and I describe what a fractal is, and then I show how traditional architectural is fractal. But the piece that I could introduce in the intro that would really seal the deal would be one that shows that a human has a desire to be surrounded by fractal form. Like, is there something objectively that shows that, which you said that it was pre-programmed, but we need to see because what the thing on the outside reflects the thing on the inside, like how our nervous system and our brain, etc., work. But is there something in writing that shows? Is there something in the Routledge handbook that just came out?
I think we do have. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I've never used these headphones.
Oh, they work.
Okay. Yeah, I can also forward you my fractal slides, and they include a quote, from Richard Taylor on how fractals that aren't too dense and aren't too sparse soothe us the most.
Okay.
And that relates to the fractal quality of the trees in the savanna, which isn't arbitrary.
Okay, Richard Taylor is also who Nico suggested.
Yeah, and so Nico's, but yeah, the handbook, here it is.
That's great.
It's incredible. And what's amazing, they mention the B word, beauty.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about beauty and how beauty is evolutionarily. You know, it's not random that the male peacock has beautiful feathers. You know, beauty and evolution go together. And we feel better in beauty with beauty. And so it's something that was never mentioned in my architectural education at UCLA, never mentioned on the licensing exam. But beauty is imperative. Beauty really matters. But I could show you Nikos's chapter here. And he writes about fractals, don't you, Nikos?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it's really, really fun. The idea of just that the environment and the person are connected, and how our nervous system is always responding to the environment is just really, really interesting. Let me get Nikos's chapter up. There's just, I just started rereading it again because I forgot everything that was here, and there really is a lot here.
This book is full of stuff.
It's full of stuff, and it's a preliminary beginning, but just showing how we're in a game-changing time. So much understanding.
So the preview is 87 pages.
Oh,
The
okay.
actual book is, I don't know how many pages.
The preview is only the first 80 pages. Is free, and the actual book is, you know what? I could probably get you a copy if you're interested in reviewing it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll make a video about it.
If you could make a video about it, I bet Routledge would send you a free copy or the free
Oh, that'd be
ebook.
awesome.
That'd be incredible. And so Nikos's chapter is chapter 27. Oh my God, we even have a chapter here. The role of beauty in promoting well-being. Look at that.
Yeah.
That was something that word was never mentioned, you know, when I went to UCLA. But Nico's chapter is in the last section. And yeah, he's almost at the last. Here we go. We talk about evidence-based. There it is. Look at this. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's great. Oh, what is that building? Neuroscience and AI determine architectural knowledge.
Do you want to tell them about the building, Nikos?
I can't see it.
Here it is.
Oh, that's a medieval cloisters in Évora, Portugal, that I went with my wife and her sister, my sister-in-law. Wonderful. This is Manueline architecture, one of the great Western architectures in history, unknown to anybody.
And what year was it built?
Oh, I have it written there. I think it's like 1510 or something. You
said 14th century.
Oh, so it must be 1380.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
What's so incredible about it is what's so weird is I feel immediately at home looking at it.
Well, I didn't want to leave. It was so nice being there.
That's fantastic. It feels timeless. It's timeless
It
architecture.
Is timeless. It is timeless, yet the professors, even in the Portuguese universities, are not teaching.
Yeah.
The design of this fantastic thing, and this is one of an enormous number of examples of Manueline architecture.
That is fantastic. And what's so amazing is it ages beautifully as it gets older.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that with what you posted, Ara, about how now the Pompidou Center has to close for 5 years because it's age, and the pipes of the Pompidou Center, they're just full of soot and they look terrible. Just, you know, whereas
when I saw that, I immediately remembered you mentioning modern architecture doesn't age well. I was like, oh, wow, that's an example in the news.
Yeah, exactly.
5 years.
5 years. It's crazy. And what's so interesting about the Pompidou Center that I teach my students is around the Pompidou Center, they put classical old cobblestone pavement. So it's not modern pavers or concrete, it's cobblestones. And
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that was there already because they demolished some very nice 18th century industrial buildings to put the Pompidou Center. So I don't know if that's the original. I doubt that they added those cobblestones.
But the cobblestones around it are beautiful.
Yeah. They could be the original. They could be the original from the 17th century.
Well, they updated them and they fit around the building beautifully, because if the building were all tarmac, people wouldn't go there. It's this beautiful cobblestone pattern all around it.
Well, I have two stories about the Pompidou Center. When I was still working between mathematics and architecture, I went to Paris and I gave two talks in mathematical physics. This was like 30 years ago. And one of my friends told me, you have to visit the Pompidou. This is a physicist. You have to visit the Pompidou Center. It's fantastic. And don't forget to go to the men's room. It's fantastic design. And I sort of, then I was crossing between mathematical physics and architecture. And I went to the Pompidou, it's a piece of crap. And I went to pee in the men's room, and it's also a piece of crap. And that really strained my relationship, because I thought, this man has absolutely no taste. He may be a good physicist, but he has no taste. And it was really a shock, so I have not been friends with him ever since. That's the first story. The second story is that the Pompidou was awarded to Renzo Piano and let's see,
Richard Rogers.
Richard Rogers, because they were card-carrying members of the Communist Party. That was the only reason it was awarded. Two young communists. So the French prime minister at the time put a committee. The committee said, we need to choose two genuine communists and give them this important commission in the heart of Paris. Okay, I have nothing against communists, but this was not an architectural decision. It was a political decision. Here they are. Yeah, Richard Rogers and Renzo Piano.
No, the building is terrible, but the pavers around it are just beautiful. Yeah. Here's a picture. That's the pavers around it right there.
Oh, that's nice.
See, they're just beautiful, and they make you linger, and they're gorgeous. And then the view outside it is traditional buildings. So when you're in the building looking out, you see the traditional architecture.
Yeah.
It's just so
well.
interesting.
So look, there's a follow-up to the story. So this made Renzo Piano extremely famous, and Richard Rogers extremely famous. And so Renzo Piano went to get big commissions. He's like 80 now, and he's still getting commissions. And he's doing some not nice buildings, and he's getting commissions. But Richard Rogers also had a political genius. So he went back to the UK, famous, and he started to destroy traditional architecture and take over power and push his champions. So many of the worst possible buildings built in the last 40 or 50 years are the champions of Richard Rogers, who started to manipulate British architecture, abusing his power. He essentially destroyed British architecture.
Yeah. What's fascinating about London is when you walk around London, you still see the scars of the Blitz from World War II. So what happens is the buildings that were demolished, they just put up kind of tacky, again, aging really poorly, high-rise residential buildings, apartment buildings, and they just have aged terribly. What happened in London, you realize the Blitz of the scars of the Blitz have not been, the city has not recovered.
Again, on the Pompidou Center, I'm sorry, Nir is not here, but one of the selling points about this ridiculous building was an innovative open plan that you had the divisions of the rooms that could be moved, so it could be immediately rearranged. It turns out that they were extremely difficult and expensive to move, so they have never been changed. So this was just a scam, selling that this is infinitely adaptable, the interior space. It's not. It was terrible.
There was an artist named Yona Friedman who did these crazy drawings. I think maybe they were inspired by this for the design of the. Oh wait, is this actual? I think he came before the Pompidou, but I'm not sure. But I think a lot of those modernists were obsessed with building these crazy drawings.
Those
Building
crazy
something that-
drawings go back to the futurists, Marinetti, the futurists who were attracted to fascism, Italian fascism, and their motto was destroy old architecture, burn down museums. This is really sinister. The origins of these type of futuristic drawings are very sinister, and you need an honest architectural historian to just read this, make it bigger and read it. The manifesto of futurism, you had it. So scroll down and read it. Where is the manifesto? Yeah, we intend to sing songs of love, danger, the habit of energy and fearlessness. Courage, audacity, and revolt will be essential elements of our poetry. So listen to this. Elements of revolt are the essential elements of architecture. Destroy the past. We intend to exalt aggressive action, a fevered insomnia, a racer's stride, the mortal leap, a punch and slap. That means destroy traditional architecture.
But a lot of the reasons the Pompidou Center was successful, though, is that you take the escalator up it to see old Paris. So the escalator is free. So I think more people go outside the building for the view than actually go inside. Because when you go up the escalator, it's really cool. So you get these really cool views of Paris, from up high. And then they also have a deck and everything. Like here's the deck. Oops. See if I can find it. Cancel. But here it is. Here's the deck of the old pop. You can go up on the deck and you can sit out, and you can there's the deck. Then you see all of Paris. Look. So that's why you go. You can see Notre Dame.
Yeah, but look, what has
So
happened?
that's really cool. How many buildings can you take an escalator outside the building, go up the building to see the view from the 8th, 10th story, whatever it is? It's really cool. That's really, and people love doing it.
They could have made a very nice building with an escalator on the
Yeah,
outside
right.
and the deck. You didn't have to do that. But now this ridiculous building has become an icon, one of the reference icons of modern architecture. And all students are forced to look at it, and they're brainwashed into thinking it's beautiful. It's not. It's disorienting.
It's disorienting. It is. But it's the beautiful architecture around it that makes it work.
But that's not the point. The architecture of the building is no good.
Right. But there was an innovation, though, the idea of doing an outside staircase that's free, open to all, to go up. That's kind of cool. I guess we've done that before in some old buildings.
We have heard the adjective cool, applied to innovative looking buildings that fail as human environments.
Right. Right.
So, and the theme, Ara chose the theme for today's video, the poor quality of modern buildings. The thing is about to collapse, so there's a $1 million renovation effort. Why don't they just, scrap it, bulldoze it, and build something nice in its place? It was never made to last. All these modernist buildings are not made to last. Just glass and steel. Curtain wall doesn't last. Glass curtain walls don't last.
Yeah, the Stone Age is so much better. When you see the rust around the elevator, it's when the building is fresh. I could see the case being made, but when you look at the way it weathers, a stone building weathers beautifully, and
Right.
even concrete weathers nicely, but steel.
Ara,
Yeah.
both of you are harboring under a misunderstanding. It's not the material. Okay, stone is great, but stone is expensive. It is the lack of understanding of architecture, how architecture weathers. You have a smooth window interface, and the rain enters the gap. You can't seal it. The traditional building has a certain number of corniches that keep the rain out. Okay, modernists refuse to put a corniche to protect the window from rain infiltration.
Oh, the cornice. Yeah, that was a nice feature that.
Yeah, so you look at the stupid thing, and you look at all the other modernist buildings. They refuse to make any concession to keep the building rainproof. And the flat roofs in rainy climates. It's ridiculous. It is the imposition of an abstract idea and refusal to learn from the 2,000 years of past how to deal with the climate in that particular location. Okay, it's just stubbornness and ignorance. So it's not only the style that causes this breakdown and decay. It is the absolute arrogance that requires a certain visual look, the cool look that allows the weathering, terrible weathering. You know, you could use not so permanent materials if you're intelligent, and it will keep the rain out, and you could have an upkeep of such a building with a moderate outlay of money. You know, you could have a budget to keep up the building. But everything is discarded by Piano and Rogers, so that now you have to actually almost rebuild the building because they ignored nature. So it's not only that these modernist architects ignored human nature to adapt to our physiology and psychological reaction to the building, but they ignored real nature, which weathers the building. They ignored everything because they placed themselves into on the same pedestal as gods. Okay, they know best. They can keep out the water from the building because they say so. Read through all the crap that the modernists have written for the last 50 years. The search for the perfect material that doesn't weather. Okay, it just goes on and on for pages and pages and pages. You know, that's mostly what they talk about, but it's impossible. They're looking for utopia. They refuse to change the design to accommodate weathering patterns and physics of weathering, and instead they are looking for the perfect sealant for the plate glass panels. There is no perfect sealant.
Yeah, the traditional architecture with as many layers that overhang and overlap each other
Exactly.
really
There's a
handles it.
reason for that.
Man.
So what we were discussing before, you know, when we got lost looking for the references, the fractals. The fractals, when you do the fractals and you have all these borders and the cornices, they protect the building against the weathering and the rain infiltration. It's not just for aesthetics. The aesthetics and the engineering go together if you know what you're doing. But the modernists don't know what they're doing. They just want to impose their will. They're following the Führer's title of his book, you know, The Triumph of the Will. This was the film by Leni Riefenstahl, you know, to promote the Führer. This is the triumph of the will. This is the modernist motto.
That was the name of his book, The Triumph of the Will?
No. It was the film.
Oh.
His book was called My Struggle, Mein Kampf.
Oh yeah, that's what it was, My Struggle.
But Leni Riefenstahl, an otherwise a genius woman film director who worked for the wrong side, made the film called The Triumph of the Will.
There's a story about supposedly before Hitler unalived himself, he called some pastor to come to him, and he's like, I want to be forgiven of my sins. And he's like, well, do you accept Christ? And he's like, yeah. And then the pastor goes, you're forgiven or something. Like, I
That
mean,
I've not heard.
I heard something like that.
So have you guys heard of the new Morningside Academy for Design?
No.
It's MIT just got 100 million like 2 years ago to take architecture out of its silo and make a new center for design in downtown Cambridge, right next to the Charles River. It's opposite the main, it's on Mass Ave. It's called the Morningside Academy of Design. It's getting built into this. They got $100 million start payment to do it. It's getting built in this old warehouse. Morningside Academy of Design, here it is. And the idea is to take all of the disciplines at MIT and combine them in one area so architects and physicists and biologists can collaborate. I think it's called
It's part of the
Morningside.
Media Lab?
No. It's a whole new donation. It's called, let me get the name right. I think it's Morningside Academy for Design. Huge new grant, started with at least 100 million. It's going to be the idea of taking the architecture department and taking it outside of its silo and having it collaborate with the other departments. Morningside Academy for Design at MIT.
Well,
but
we'll
the
see.
Funny thing is, the way they're redoing this old building is they're doing it in a modernist way, ignoring the patterns that are beautiful in the building. The old building, the original building, was just a storage center. It's now being retrofitted into this new design academy. It's really gorgeous, but it's a fantastic location too.
I remember there was that whole thing with the MIT Media Lab where they were trying to incorporate architecture with the human experience and technology, and they were doing all these things.
Well, it never worked because the building by IMP is a piece of crap, and whoever works in such a building, you have your thinking ruined. Logical thinking becomes ruined. The architecture influences thinking. If you try to work in a negative architectural environment, then
well, you know the
this
story about IMP though, right? I could never. He worked with Gropius, right? And I couldn't understand why Gropius and him worked so well. He was younger than Gropius by about 10 years or more. And then I learned that his mother died when he was 4. And then his father abandoned him when he was like 7 or 8. So then he bonded with a guy who lost so many people he knew in World War I. It was trauma. Hurt people hurt other people. That's a quote from Bessel van der Kolk.
Yeah.
Where's that quote from? I've heard that before, but I never knew.
Hurt people hurt other. It's from a famous book. It's a New York Times bestseller. Been on the New York Times bestseller list for 10 years. It's Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's all about how trauma gets encoded in the body and then can get passed on intergenerationally. And also his quote is 5 words, sums up modern architecture, how it happened. Hurt people hurt other people. That's it.
Whoa.
So I've presented some of my work to him, and he didn't realize it applied to architecture.
Really?
No, because nobody thinks that way, right?
Yeah.
And architects don't take psychology courses.
Architects don't take any courses. They just take a brainwashing propaganda.
Right.
Most of the time is spent doing these stupid little models.
But but Nico's model making is a lot of fun. But I did it. But yeah, hurt people hurt other people because they're and that's why modern architecture looks the way it is. It's dissociated. To survive World War I, you had to dissociate. To survive being abandoned by your parents, you have to dissociate, right? And then you end up hurting others, and that's what basically happened. What are you looking at here?
Oh, this is the Routledge handbook.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, what's great is that Michael Mahaffey wrote an introduction, and Susan McSalmon, who runs the very successful Arts and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins, she wrote an introduction. And we're thinking of having an international book launch, Nikos.
Wonderful.
We'll be talking about that. And iMotions is going to help us. They've hired a PR firm to help us launch it.
Wonderful.
So it'll be, I think, in mid-November. But I can also, I can reach out to Routledge to see if you can get a copy.
Yeah, I'd love to make a bunch of videos about
because
that.
There's so many things here, right? It's 31 chapters. And there's just so many different things. They talk about sound. They talk about eye tracking. They talk about 3M visual attention software. It's like so much here.
And Justin B. Hollander's back, it seems. I know
Yeah,
you
Justin has a chapter in it working with some researchers from the Netherlands who are very interested in putting in pocket parks in modern development to make them feel more humane. So they put in like little parks everywhere with trees, and they study how people will experience the street differently.
Let me say something. Even though I'm included in this handbook, this really brings together so much stuff that was disconnected, occurring in different parts of the research spectrum. Okay, for several years that we didn't know about each other. And this handbook, it's a huge, how many pages? Is it 500 pages? 600 pages?
It's 500 pages. Yeah, it's 500 pages. It's by 51 authors and 31 chapters, right. And they're on 4 continents.
Yeah, it brings together all this research that was not connected before. And then when you go through this book, which is a heavy book, you realize that all of this links together to create a human scale architecture and gives this scientific basis for the human scale architecture, that we have been talked about on this video. But this is an enormous quantity of scientific data that is brought together. So this really is a useful handbook. A handbook means something you refer to.
Right. And also it shows like preliminarily how you can use eye tracking, because most architects don't know what it is. Yes. Or most architects have never heard of 3M visual attention software, even though it's been a plugin for Photoshop, which they know, for 5 years. You can get access to it for $9 a month. If you have Photoshop, most architects don't know it's there.
Look, we have discussed this before. Lecturers in architecture schools are totally ignorant, and they refuse to learn and teach to their students anything that does not support the modernist minimalist style or the deconstructivist anxiety-inducing style. Okay? So eye tracking questions those styles, and they ignore it. And if they see what it does, they certainly are not going to teach it to the students. So the whole point of architecture school is to keep the students ignorant so they can be manipulated.
Well, I think it's a paradigm shift, though, Tom. I think some students like Ara right here, or people his
Ara
age.
is not the student. Ara
yeah, but
is
a recent student.
Ara is a professional who has opened his eyes by contact with reality and is joining in this movement.
Well, I think there's a broader interest that's exploding now, really, and I think that's what Ara is capturing. This wasn't here when I went to UCLA in 1994.
That was a while ago. But listen, why aren't say 200 current students, architecture students, writing comments in our videos? So we have several comments, but why don't we have 300, 400, 1,000 students write comments under our videos? We don't. They're just totally stupid. And they accept the brainwashing that keeps them ignorant in the architecture school. We are giving, we are opening horizons for design, human scale architecture, giving them tools, technological tools. This handbook contains like 50.
Yeah, but Nikos, as a scientist or as someone who studied science and math, it's a paradigm shift, and paradigm shifts happen like that. American car manufacturers originally protested putting in seatbelts. They didn't want seatbelts. The guy who invented the Mustang said, "We don't want a seatbelt in the car. It's not so sexy, But now we all have seatbelts.
Look,
right?
You keep making the argument, and I don't dispute it, but I'm talking about students in the age of the web and the internet that have instant access to information at their fingertips, and they continue to remain ignorant because they're just not interested, or they keep to the restrictions. Okay, the architecture schools impose cognitive restrictions on the students in order to keep them ignorant. And the students refuse to break out of this.
But
architecture school pushes you down a very particular rabbit hole. It pushes you down the Stil and the deconstructivism and the minimalism. And I think it's maybe necessary for one to go through it, but then once it runs its course, then you start getting interested in fractals and traditional architecture. And because you realize that really it runs its course at a certain point. You can't go down that rabbit hole forever.
What did you say, Ara? You said it's necessary to go down that course?
Maybe in this day and age, because every mainstream architect is interested in it. So you have to be at least familiar with it. Because if not...
But look, Ara, Anne and I make the case that going through this course destroys the brain, because it wires the brain in order to be numb and insensitive to regular psychological and physiological reaction that the body is born with, has evolved with, to survive. That's the whole point of Anne's and my message. The human body has evolved to survive by inputting information that contains this fractal structures. So when an architecture student goes through 5 years of brainwashing to appreciate minimalist modernism and deconstructivism, their brain is rewired, which is essentially brain damage. So they come out and they cannot listen to the message that their own body is giving. Please back me up on this, Anne.
Well, I have to admit, I was pretty confused when I graduated. You're right. I couldn't understand, because I went to architecture school after living in Paris for 5 years, and I could never understand why the American tourists would come and never go to the modern parts of Paris. They only hung out in the old parts. And I really wanted to study that, right? And nobody ever talked about human experience. I thought, wait a minute, I've just graduated and never talked about this. And then I met an urban planner, and he started talking about human experience, Justin Hollander, and that's what changed my life, whatever. But mentioning fractals, if you want, I could show you some quick fractals. Do you want me to show you some?
Yeah, let's get out of this.
Do you want me to show you some fractals?
Yeah, please.
Let's see. Oh, my computer.
Well, your paintings, Anne, behind you have fractal qualities.
That's the thing.
And some of our listeners like them, and I think there's one person who doesn't like them, but that's too bad. But they show fractal qualities. My headboard here, this is real. This is wood. Yeah. This shows fractal qualities. It's from Indonesia, hand carved.
Yeah, I don't know how to share my screen. Share screen. Here we go. Share screen. Select a tab. I've always had trouble with this. I can't share my screen.
You want to send it to me and I'll share it?
It's
easier with two screens, or you could just share a tab. Or
how can I do it? Window. Present. You're in the show. We'll keep talking, guys. I'll see if I can figure out how to do it.
I had trouble. So what do you want to show? Maybe Ara can pull it up on the web.
They're great pictures of fractals.
Well, let Ara look up fractals on the web, and we'll choose one or two.
And great quotes. But the thing is, it's not a Google thing I can share. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I can't figure out how to share it.
Okay, Ara, why don't you look up fractals, and then I will tell you which one to choose. Yeah, this is the Mandelbrot set. This beautiful fractal. Yeah.
That's a great trick.
Yeah, this is a beautiful fractal. So you take one piece, you magnify, it looks like the whole thing.
The Mandelbrot set?
Yeah, the Mandelbrot set. That's what
the Mandelbrot set is really good.
Yeah, and then you have the Sierpinski gasket, the triangle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Sierpinski gasket is triangles, and you keep magnifying it, and it just repeats. The pattern repeats infinitely.
So it seems like there are three qualifications for a fractal. It can go on forever, the small scale reflects a large scale, and it has complexity.
Yeah.
Because the grid is not a fractal. The simple grid is not a fractal. So it also needs at least some complexity.
No. The complexity is a consequence of the levels of scale. It has different levels of scale, and then when you magnify one piece, it looks like what you just magnified. So you can keep magnified. Now, finish the definition. A mathematical fractal, you can keep magnifying and you still get the structure. A natural fractal, stops when you get to the cellular level. But that's okay, because, we see a natural fractal, and we see like 7, 8, 10, 11 levels of scale. That makes a wonderful fractal. And an architectural fractal can have 7 to 8 to 10 levels of scale. That's gorgeous.
Okay, but by that definition, why wouldn't this be a fractal? Because you could look at one square, you could look at a group of squares.
Let
or you
me
could look at the whole
explain
thing.
to you. That has only 2 scales. The wide scale, call it L, and 1/20th of that, which is the size of 1 square. So it only has 2 scales. A fractal has to have levels of scale. Okay, so now take this. So it doesn't have levels of scale. Now zoom into this, and when you get to the square, there's nothing there. So zoom into it, there's nothing there.
Oh,
Okay, you're not getting anything new.
Right,
And when you
right.
get to the blank square, all the structure is gone.
right.
Now go to a fractal. Go to this. Okay, so click on one of these. You see, you have the width of the triangle. Then you have 1/3 of the triangle, which is the smaller triangle. Then you have 1/3 of the third, which is an even smaller triangle. And you keep magnifying, and you get more and more similar triangles that look exactly the same. And you can keep magnifying. And look, this is natural. This is the broccoli flower, right? This
No,
is a
yeah,
broccoli cauliflower.
there's broccoli, yeah, cauliflower.
Well, it's a broccoli flower.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
hybrid between the two. Nature made this, and you boil it and you eat it. Look
But
how fantastic this is.
But here's the thing too, is they know that our brain is fractal, that the neurons are fractal, that if you couldn't get, 86 billion neurons if they weren't fractal. It wouldn't work. It has
Exactly.
to be fractal. And so vision is fractal. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's look at some pictures, because I want to say something very negative. You have some architectural psychopaths who take a fractal and create an inhuman building that creates anxiety. So they take a fractal pattern and create a horrible anxiety-inducing building. How? By making a cantilever that's going to squash you, or by making the thing crooked, diagonal. So they use all the known design techniques for creating anxiety, and then slap a fractal design on it. And they said, this is fractal. This is really evil. But this is some intelligent people who really dig deep into how to destroy human well-being. It's better that we don't show anything, because you don't want to get sued.
But I mean, I'm a fan of them. Like I see what you're saying, and it makes sense. But I don't know.
So all the ones that you went through, don't go back to them.
I
By
won't.
famous architects, you can take a piece of design on the wall and you say, yeah, that's fractal. Why doesn't it give positive qualities? Because all the rest of this huge building is meant to cause distress and wear you down.
And it comes from the emphasis on doing something new that we talked about, the tabula rasa thing that we talked about.
No, it comes from the emphasis of doing something harmful to the human being.
No, stop it. He goes.
Why should I stop it? Look, I'm of a certain age when I don't need to pull my punches.
Okay, guys. Too fun. Well, listen, guys, I've got to go, but I'll let you know about the online book launch. I think it'll be in mid-November.
Oh,
Okay?
cool! Can't wait. Yeah, I'm
Okay, and I will also send you an email connecting you with the editor
Oh, that's
in
awesome.
Routledge. Okay?
Okay.
Talk soon.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, are we ready to sign off?
Sure, yeah. But yeah, I've been seeing fractals everywhere, and I've been thinking about fractals like in the form of even the content, like making content, like if you provide an infinite number of content, like it could have a fractal quality, and just like the design fractal. But yeah, sure, yeah, we could sign off.
No, but listen, whoever, in the wild hope that architecture students have been watching this video, fractals are one component of human-centered design. So the best way to get a handle on this is to go to Christopher Alexander's 15 properties, 15 fundamental properties. And I will just list very loosely. You have the fractals, and that takes care of the levels of scale. But you also need to have internal symmetries. So most fractals have symmetries, but if they don't, you need to put in symmetries. And then you need to have adaptation of the space, that has nothing to do with fractals, in order for the human body to feel comfortable in the space. So there are other factors that you need. Fractals is one of them, and it's what the modernists got rid of. But they also got rid of all the rest.
Did Christopher Alexander ever use the word fractals, or
I
he used
don't
other
know.
terms to describe it?
Yeah, he may have mentioned the word, but one of his properties is levels of scale, and the levels of scale corresponds to the fractals. So scroll down. I think this is a paper by a Japanese gentleman. Go up. So the first one, the first one is levels of scale. Yeah, so levels of scale, when they're linked with symmetries, create a fractal. Because you have smaller and smaller, smaller and smaller, and then you have the distribution of sizes. Because if you have something very small, there are many, many more pieces of that small thing than there are of the big thing. So there's a distribution of sizes, and I've written 3 papers on this, mathematical papers. The smaller pieces there are in the fractal, the more of them there are. So there's an inverse frequency distribution, namely, the smaller something is, the more of it there is present in a large composition.
So here he mentioned something about a strong center.
That's the next one.
Oh, that's the next one.
Yeah. What we were discussing is levels of scale.
I remember seeing something you had drawn where it showed a globalized model versus a centralized model. And it seemed like you were in favor of the wait, no, it was a wait, what was this? Centralized versus decentralized? And you were in favor of the decentralized.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Globalized. Oh, this one. This one. Oh, but this is for the city planning.
This is for city planning.
Right.
We can discuss this, but it's jumping to a totally new topic.
Yeah, when I thought it instantly made sense. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, I'd love to dive more into Christopher stuff because there's so much there. But yeah, it's been almost. So by the way, today I got a slightly distracted at one point because I saw the Wi-Fi symbol on my thing. So the way I solved the audio lag was by connecting a physical wire, Ethernet cable, to the internet instead of.
Oh, really?
Instead of Wi-Fi, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I connected this directly to the internet with the wire. Great. And it fixed it. Yeah, but it seemed like Great. It was about to disconnect and go back to Wi-Fi. But I should get one of these for my home also. It's way faster.
Great. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so and I think we're going to close, but I don't want to close before mentioning the following. Bin Jiang, whom we know and who we have invited to this series of seminars, is working on using AI to evaluate the 15 fundamental properties. And I'm writing papers. I have like 4 papers on using the 15 properties with AI. This is a revolution in design because it's appreciated by the computer science people, who don't tolerate this nonsense from the architectural propaganda. So we are actually using AI to evaluate the presence of the 15 fundamental properties, which include fractals, in designs before they built. So you have a design proposal, and people who are brainwashed architects say, oh, this is gorgeous, let's build this. And we've evaluated with AI and said, this is crap. is going to create people. It's going to create anxiety in anyone who is outside, passing by, approaching it, and entering it.
So you and Bin Jiang met working with Christopher Alexander at the same time?
No. I went to London like 40 years ago, and Bin Jiang was doing a postdoc in urbanism. And we met, and we corresponded ever since. And, Bin Jiang has had a very brilliant career as a professor in Sweden, working mostly in urbanism, using Alexander's ideas, but not the stuff we're doing now, beauty and architectural scale. And gradually been turned to the architectural scale. So now he's working with AI on the architectural scale, and it's creating fantastic results with software.
The work he showed his students' work was like very zoomed in, very minor. A very major design work, but it was at the very small scale, and it was
it's a small scale. It's a human scale. Rooms, interiors, maybe facades. So he has focused on that after writing, many important articles on the street, urban level, because he made his career as an urban design, a professor of urban design in Sweden.
Oh wow! And then when you start tying those two scales together, you see the fractal nature, because a lot of the same principles apply at both scales.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So now Bin and I separately are pioneering the use of AI to implement Christopher Alexander's geometrical ideas. And both Bin and I are writing as fast as we can and publishing as fast as we can. There's so much to develop. But when you harness the power of AI, it's like having an army behind you. It's no longer saying something sensible and having the architectural establishment just resisting and turning their back on human scale architecture. We have an army behind us.
I'm going to ask my AI what it thinks about traditional versus contemporary. I'm very curious what it has to say.
Have you read my articles?
Not fully. I will.
Well, there are many articles. So some of the first articles I wrote in AI is I asked, give me examples of beautiful architecture that's good for human beings. And it gave me traditional architecture. And then I asked separately, show me examples of buildings that are expressly designed to create illness, anxiety, and wear you down. And he drew contemporary buildings and deconstructivist buildings. And boy, did I get into trouble for that. But that's your simple proof. Even Anne got upset when I mentioned this.
Why?
I mentioned that this is a deliberate attempt to create harm to people, and she got upset. One of our closest friends thought I went too much, but I refused to back down.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think they deliberately, because if I hadn't met you guys, I would have been down that path, and I would have been following in the footsteps of the contemporary architects. And it's not like I intended evil. It's not like I intended to make something anxiety-inducing.
And you probably would have been more famous than you are now and have a better salary.
Yeah, probably.
Well.
But hey, there are more important things than the best possible salary.
Okay, so concluding remarks.
Concluding remarks, that human-centered design is making a comeback.
You think so? I don't, but if you think so, I'm happy you're optimistic.
Yeah, I think it's going to.
Okay, well, you're certainly trying to help, and I applaud your efforts.
Thank you.
Okay, Ara, so see you soon.
Okay. All right, see you. Take care.